Okay, we're good to go, everybody. We're ready to start.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Beder. I'm with the 45th Precinct Community Council. John Doyle and I decided it was time for another meeting with folks from Rodman next. So we just wanted to get an update. So that's why we're here tonight. So with that said, we're really talking about the construction process. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark and Kevin, and they're going to tell you where we're at.
Okay. All right, just introduce myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amr Eldin. I'm the head of capital construction with the New York City Police Department. So we're, Kevin and Kevin.
My name is Kevin Arscott. I'm the assistant commissioner for police, NYPD, and FDNY construction for the city's design and construction department. So we're the general services department for the city.
Yes, we haven't spoken in a while, so we'll give you guys a quick update on what's happening with Rodman's next. So good news is, in the latest capital plan, we were actually fully funded on the shortfall there for Rodman's neck. We also are in finalizing awarding the CM contract to the lowest bidder. We met with them a while ago, and we selected the vendor who's going to be basically leading the contract. They're going to own the contract, and they're also going to hire the contractors as well. So this is what we call a CM build contract. It's meant to kind of expedite the work and also bring a higher quality of construction where this CM is not really required to choose the lowest bidder, but more the most qualified bidder for the city. So it's going to give us flexibility to really be able to issue the contract in smaller and quicker phases and get the construction moving quicker. We are looking to register the contract in the next couple months. Hopefully with the plan of starting construction spring of 25. The construction will be broken up into multiple different phases. We have utilities, we have excavation, we have concrete, whether it's foundation, all kind of different phases that this work is going to be broken up into. That area on Rodman's Neck, currently right now, we're actually performing also another capital project there. It's called the Bomb Squad project, which is going to be a beautiful new garage for the Bomb Squad team. So, yeah.
But it's up high, so that
It is up high. It's above everything in that area has to.
We
be
learned that lesson. Yes.
Yeah. So the reason why so that whole area generally, anything that's being constructed has to be above the DFE. So that entire site in general, Rodman's Neck, is being elevated about 19 to 20 inches or so on top of whatever else we're doing. That's a fact that's happening there.
have you had a lot of flooding?
Excuse me?
Have you had a lot of flooding there? Is that why
Yes.
you're in?
Oh yeah. That area in general, because it's surrounded by a lot of water there.
Why don't we let them finish their presentation and we'll ask our questions.
So we're very excited. This was a project that's been in the making for a very, very long time. I know you guys had a huge help in getting us funded for this project. So we thank you. We're all very excited about it. This is going to be a generational project for the NYPD, for DDC. We're actually in the middle. We just did a ribbon cutting at the 40th Precinct. That was a beautiful, $82 million command that just opened up in the Bronx, and we're about.
I was 35 when we started that.
You're a young man.
He's 48 now.
That's right. And
the reason we're doing CM build on this project and not public bid.
right.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's good.
Thank
So hopefully you'll be done. Retire off that job.
Yeah, exactly right. Yes.
We have another precinct opening up in Rosedale, the 116, which we're also very excited about. So Rodman's Neck is kind of like the cherry on top. It's going to really put the department in the 21st century. The training is going to be top class training there. I know you guys are going to be very excited about hopefully a great reduction in the noise, what you guys are hearing on a daily basis. So that was a big push on how we were able to get some funding on the project. On top of, obviously the site conditions themselves, they haven't been updated in the last 50, 60 years or so. So that's the plan, CM gets on board and hopefully begin construction in the spring of 25, hit the ground running. We already kind of got DOB approvals, which was difficult for us to do, but we got past that. We got, the final part of the FDNY approvals. We're working with the Parks Department. We got Con Ed involved as well because we're bringing in utility lines coming from Con Ed. Where's it coming from?
Con Ed's coming down from, believe it or not, is coming from New Rochelle.
So,
There's a new service coming from New Rochelle. Yes,
How
ma'am.
many trees will we lose for that?
We're trying to use the roadway and take no trees
So
whatsoever.
we will take no trees?
No trees, ma'am. No trees.
So the Parks Department are.
That's the goal.
Yes,
No trees.
extremely involved in what we're doing. We actually had to perform a survey already
Yeah.
of all the trees on site. So we marked all the trees, we surveyed all the trees. So the Parks Department are involved in every step that we do.
Mhm.
The Parks Department gets really a lot of money for mature trees to come down for a capital project.
Yes, we
So
do.
I would not trust the Parks Department.
Well, if you
Right,
walk
right.
our meetings,
Well, here's the thing, no.
otherwise.
I gotta say, I deal with them on an ongoing basis. I'm currently purchasing the destruction of 4 big trees in the Bronx on Morris Avenue.
Yeah.
It's a cost of $142,000. So I know, I'm very aware of what trees cost. So we stay away from
Yeah.
having to take trees as much as possible. So we are in the survey phase right now between Con Ed and the Parks Department. We're gonna have to be putting manholes underneath the Pelham Park roadway. So it's, we're gonna maintain a travel lane, we're not closing it.
Right.
But it's due to the high water table, we all know, it's gonna be, every vault is gonna be a project, it is. So, but we're not gonna, it was discussed to have an option to put it on poles. We said, not good, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
So we're going under the roadway.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. No, they're.
So when you do under the roadway, you're gonna be closing off at least one lane at a time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when that happens, you're gonna have additional police enforcement
We're
for
gonna have,
traffic.
we got a flag protection, this will all be done by an approved Con Ed subcontractor, absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. the
So,
police department
so
will
we
give
won't
you-
wanna lose manpower from the 4-5.
Not at all,
No,
not at all,
that's
no,
critical,
this
guys.
is
Right?
typical
We
Con
wanna
Ed
make sure
work.
we have manpower.
Yeah.
Con Ed charges us for the
Okay.
people that
So,
protect the
so
work.
when you get to that stage,
Mhm.
you need to discuss it with us because we've seen the police department do a great job
Right.
when they have events on moving people in and out of here,
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely.
So that's something we wanna
No,
coordinate.
everything will be coordinated
To
with the
make
precinct.
sure that it's done in
Absolutely.
such a way
Absolutely.
that we don't disrupt getting on and off the island.
One of the
Because we
biggest
know that's
things.
gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And
How
one of
long is that stage gonna last?
it's probably gonna be at least a year to a year and a half to get the entire length
Okay.
from New Rochelle all the way to the property line.
Right.
Out
To be
at
expected.
Rodman.
And how are we doing sound abatement during that construction phase?
For that particular
So
construction?
digging up streets, you're gonna have a lot of noise, right?
Right, well, that's gonna be on Con Ed and their people.
Right.
That's,
Yeah, I
that's
mean-
in their work.
That's typically when you're doing an open trench,
Mhm.
there's no real like sound abatement measures that you're taking. It's an open trench.
It's an open trench, you're gonna be up there in the woods.
Right.
It's gonna be typical cutting of asphalt, so there's not a lot of asphalt cover up there because of the high water table, so.
We got a lot of questions emailed by people, extra people who
Absolutely.
showed up, we're nice enough to
Absolutely.
email.
Yeah.
But before we do them, did you guys have anything else you
No,
wanted
so
to say?
what
before
I'll
we
do is I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the project, what's actually being
Go
built
ahead.
out there,
Yeah.
so that way you guys have an idea. So the project consists of an indoor range, obviously that's the biggest highlight of the project. We're also going to be bringing in a sanitary line, so finally get rid of the septic, and it's a big environmental boost for the entire area there. So we have a huge environmental team where we're able to get a sanitary line that's coming out of Orchard Beach pump station. So that's a huge plus for the community, and I think just the area that's down there. DEC is very involved in our plans as well. We have different, ammo storage, things of that nature that's going to just help the department, manage their equipment and ammunition in a much better, advanced way. But obviously, we have a new center that's for the policemen as well. We're going to have a new cafeteria. And the indoor range is going to consist of 150 shooting points. And the idea behind it is, because it's going to have, almost zero to no noise at all, we could, if we had to, be 24/7 operational to kind of make up the loss of points that we have now. So currently now we have about 263 shooting points. But with the indoor range and being able to operate around the clock, I think we'll be able to manage with 150 points to get our guys trained. And
How many outdoor points as well?
so currently right now there's 6 outdoor ranges. That project is eliminating 3 right away. 3 ranges have to be completely removed because of just the space of what we're doing. There will be 3 outdoor ranges remaining, but the intention is not to really use them unless it's like emergency purposes. Meaning, you know, the range goes down and there's major repairs that have to be done. You know, obviously qualifying has to happen.
Will there be baffling included with those 3 outdoor ranges?
There wouldn't, because we're not really intending to use them. You know, the only other range that's going to be outdoors is what we call our sniper range, and it's a 300-yard range that's not used as often, and that's not, you know, it's nothing we could do about it. We can't reproduce a 300-yard indoor range. But that's majority of the shooting. 90% of the shooting they're hearing is the qualifying, the handguns, and that's the constant shooting they're hearing. The idea behind it is to, you know, hopefully eliminate that, or really dramatically reduce it, where it's, you know, you'll notice a major difference.
What's the order in which this is gonna happen? The indoor range gonna be done first?
So that's a great question. So yes, it's there's a ton of phasing that has to happen here because we have to maintain an active training facility. Rodman's Neck is our biggest training facility that we have for the department, so we don't have the luxury to just shut it down. We did a huge study to kind of identify what needs to kind of remain operational as we do the construction, and the phasing plan was built around that study. So, you know, we're the first thing that's happening is utilities. Obviously, when the CM gets on board, they're verifying that plan as well to make sure it makes sense. But utilities is going to be one of the first things that happen. The shooting range is going to be the 3rd phase of the project. There's altogether 6 phases. And what we're looking to do is to turn the shooting range over prior to the completion of the project. So as the project is ongoing, we're looking to have that range itself. We can look at TCO for that range to be able to then move into the range as the project is being completed.
Okay. I'm going to just start with the questions that people emailed in.
Sorry.
This one was 3. What's the start and completion dates as of right now? I know the CM's not on board, but what's the estimation?
April of 25, shovel in the ground, and 4 years from that, April of 29.
Thank you.
It's a 4-year project.
So
And then,
question in the back.
This one, what noise abatement measures are a part of the reconstruction?
We can give you that. There's a PowerPoint presentation that we'll send over to you,
Right, sounds
John.
good.
All right, there is. Yeah, that was already published. All right, and that gives you some of the technology
Right.
of what we're reducing it to.
Okay.
I'm not really, you know, as far as the actual.
Yeah. So there was a study.
The
There was,
PowerPoint presentation is what noise abatement will happen after the range is built.
Right.
We're talking about during the
Reduction.
construction process.
So in the construction process, we did a major study into this, and we can share with you guys. So the cost to reduce the noise in construction was an extremely high cost for a very, very low decibel reduction. And we were taking money away from the project, and that's what's happening. That project is already so underfunded, and we had to go fight and claw for every single penny that we could get to be able to build this project, and we have to justify and justify and justify. The cost of the temporary noise reduction was not worth doing in order, you know, it wasn't worth the value that we're bringing to the community. It was going to be negligible. It was, I think, a 4 decibel reduction to build these huge sound curtains that required constant maintenance. We said, you know, the decision was made to take that money and put it back into the project that needed the funding, because every penny that we took out of it made it harder and harder, and just pushed the project further out. So we took every penny that we could get to put it into the project itself, because we wanted to get shovel into the ground. To us, that's the most critical point. Get the shovel in the ground and start the construction. Without it, you know, you can keep talking and putting roadways and you know, you guys know that then nothing gets built. So,
Is all the staging going to be on site?
Not all of it, no.
Yeah.
There will be some, you know, what we're gonna have and what we'll share with you is once we get the CM on board and we nail down the phasing of it, the actual feeding of the project, we have to coordinate between maintaining what's out there now for training. A part of the demolition to allow the buildings to be built is to move the current location of all the classroom spaces.
Right.
Everything that's out there now is kind of like Quonset huts.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah,
like old
yeah.
army stuff.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those are sitting on the footprint of the new project. So, number one, we gotta get utilities. Number two, we've gotta shift those operations while maintaining all the parking that's there, because, you know, twice a year, 37,000 cops have to come over there. So, you have to maintain. So there's a lot of logistics.
Make them park in Orchard Beach and bus
That's
it in.
I got a brother-in-law who's in the busing business, so I mean, I'm thinking about that. That's
We
not
don't
on the
wanna get you
record,
in
John.
trouble. Yeah, we don't wanna get you in
Off the
trouble
record,
with the,
John.
No, we didn't hear that.
Just
This
kidding.
question was asked different ways by by two different people.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read them both, and then feel free to answer them both. What will be done to remove the lead from surrounding land and water, and to prevent additional lead from being absorbed? And the other person asked it a different way. What is being done to remove bullets so that the lead is not dissolved from them into the soil and aquatic environment, such as East Chester Bay and all around? So,
Right, so I can answer that. So we currently, and for the last, I would say, maybe 10 years, maybe more, through DEP and then by us ourselves, have been maintaining, you know, the ranges and the berms through an environmental contractor on a yearly basis. So we have a rotation where the berms ourselves are treated and the surrounding soils, and we do sampling of the wells as well. All the information is sent to DEC. Our plan for this project was sent to DEC, you know, for approval as well, so they're fully aware of what we're doing.
and what's approved?
Our environmental plan.
Yeah.
So all the improvements that we're doing to the site, we're installing stormwater capture, we're capturing stormwater, we're treating it before it goes out, and you know, we're also treating the berms. The idea is that we don't have to use the berms anymore, you know, and be able to go indoors. That's the whole point of it. It's not just noise cancellation, but also, you know, it will save us money with the environmental services that we have to provide constantly that we're doing now with the department. So there's going to be whatever we touch, obviously, has to be, you know, either treated or done the proper way. There's methods that gets approved by DEC and DEP as well. Prior to us doing any kind of construction, we have to submit what we call SWIP plans. That's basically plans that in the middle of construction, how we're going to maintain the site. And they also approve our final designs as well. So, you know, everything that I'm sorry, this question. Yeah.
My question, I know it's going to be elevated because Rodman's Neck is a definite flood zone by the time you're finished.
Yeah.
It will be underwater. My question is, why not move it elsewhere? Because the officers who need to go there for training, as climate change is happening at a very accelerated rate, the water is warmer in the water, we have stronger storms, higher tidal surges, and the polar caps are melting, so that the officers who have to reach there are days, quite a few, more and more, when the high tide due to the nor'easters actually covers some of the entrance roads, so how they have to get there, they have to drive their car through salt water. So it does not make sense to me to spend an enormous amount of money to refurbish something, no matter however you do it, in a place that will be inaccessible. Why would we do this? Why not move it to a place at a higher elevation?
Right, so when we did our, so the entire design for this project is for the 500-year floodplain, right? So it's going to be elevated to
Based on what? When you say 500 year, what do you
Right,
mean?
it's based on,
Because
you know,
it's very different.
Yeah, FEMA, right, we base it off, you know, what we go with FEMA, right? That's all we would go off, right? So our designers are designing it per, you know, what FEMA dictates and how we have to design it, like DFE, and DFE, just like a lot of these homes that were raised for the Sandy program, you know, was based off a design where there's a DFE they have to elevate to, and that's kind of what we go off, you know.
Before you go on,
But how do they access it?
before you go on, there have been several other sites looked at, and we really don't have a choice at this point. That's the site.
We don't have a choice.
No, the site is set. That's cast in stone. So they're not moving it. We did look at
experience.
a lot of different options over the years, and this is basically the site that was chosen. and that's not gonna change. So there's
Right.
no
I
sense in
expect-
discussing
So
why
we'll
you're not.
spend all this money to throw it underwater.
Whatever you may think is your opinion, and I respect that, but the site is not gonna change. So let's move on. You had a question, sir?
When New York City applied for the Olympic Games a few years ago, there was a plan to put a shooting range in that area. And my question is, can the shooting range be used by private people also, or is it only for the police?
This is just for the police department
It's only private.
and possibly other agencies that might have an MOU.
I was very disappointed when we didn't get that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir.
You just said other agencies, are other foreign police departments allowed to go in there?
I don't know, as of right now, we don't know. I mean, there might be other MOUs. Currently, right now, the current range, we have Department of Correction out there, obviously.
Department of Correction goes there, New York State offices go there,
So,
there's-
FBI occasionally.
the FBI occasionally goes there.
so
When he
yeah.
says other
So
agencies,
that means
there are other agencies that are
local.
local.
Cities going in there.
No, so
I
I,
have
No,
a friend who's
no.
retired Navy, and she trained there many
right,
years.
so in terms of, so we're the construction people and we'll do the construction. In terms of the MOUs, I don't know exactly what MOUs will be out there.
That's gonna be a separate.
If there's,
that's
yeah,
still-
if there's
But
any.
yeah, we don't expect it to be anything different than it
I
is today.
don't know, right?
There was a plan at one point when we built the new academy in College Point to be a conference center
Yes.
to bring other police departments from around the world to observe and to participate and to come and use the range here and what have you. That fell on the funding shortfall, so they cut that out. So those conversations have been had historically about inviting other from around the world.
I guess my point is, can you limit these outside groups until you go indoors, so there's less noise around here?
Right now, as far as I know, the bulk is NYPD and corrections.
Yeah.
The people, the other agencies that we cite here are
They're
a fraction.
occasional.
They're a fraction.
Yeah, they're a
You know,
small
they're a
amount.
fraction of what's
I
being
mean,
used.
everybody's been made aware of the construction, and so obviously, shutting or removing half the ranges, right, is going to majorly have an impact on the training and how many people can come train on site. So, people are much smarter than me, are kind of figuring
Now,
out.
this is a different part of NYPD, not construction,
Right.
so they're not really involved in who's
Right,
coming
sure.
and going.
I feel you guys answered this one, but
Right.
I don't want to be a gatekeeper here, so
Yeah.
I'm going to just put out the last question you got. I would like to know if some of the money for this project can be set aside for the construction of a dock for the Harbor Patrol in Rodman's Neck, especially since it's a quality of life project. And for going on 8 years, members of the community have been asking for a home for the Harbor Patrol in the Bronx to deal with quality of life issues in the vicinity of Rodman's Neck.
I would send that to the new commissioner. That's what
Okay.
I would do. That's
Yeah.
definitely right. Ask the new commissioner. I was
No,
told.
yeah.
Yeah,
so
I know
we don't have any funding
budgetary,
for
but I
that,
wanted
yeah.
to.
No, of course.
If you want to answer a question, I try to get
Yeah,
it.
no problem.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think, I'm not aware of that project specifically,
Right.
but obviously this concern is concerned. I'm sure there's other harbor units that I'm working on.
Yeah,
now
we've
that
done harbor
we're
work.
repairing
Yeah.
right now. But the funding for this project, because like we said, we actually have to go and get additional funding and meet the shortfall, so we're barely making it.
And for anybody who's interested in the harbor portion of this, the 45th Precinct Community Council has asked, will continue to ask, and when new people come on, as they just have, we will ask again and again. Not only will we ask the people at NYPD downtown, we also ask the council members and the mayor's office as well. So we keep putting that same request in, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah, harbor, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm curious about your comment that bringing it indoors mitigates some of the environmental concerns and the berm. Could you explain how that works? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So, once we go indoors, a lot of the ammo that's being used is going to be completely controlled. So it goes into traps, and so we're no longer using the soil, the berms outdoors. So these traps now will capture the shelling, and from there, we have services where we'll take that and actually be able to, move it off site.
What are the traps? Some sort of.
The traps is basically, it's where we're actually using rubber traps here. So it's gonna be rubber traps where you shoot into.
rubber?
and-
Rubber?
Yeah, rubber.
Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
Right, rubber traps you shoot into, and we're going to have an environmental service that's going to capture, the bolts go in, it goes into a waste basket basically behind it, all the stuff's collected We have HEPA filters for the lead dust that gets collected as well. So it's a much more controlled environment. This project, the way it started was actually a semi-indoor facility that had baffles. And when we actually had a very informative meeting with the FBI down in Virginia, they told us, please don't do that. The design does not work. We tried it. It does not work because you cannot control the environment. They showed us through a study that they performed exactly what we're looking to build, actually, how it did not work. And we couldn't control the lead hazard. So we didn't want to spend all this money for something that wasn't going to work. And thanks to the FBI and the amount of information that they gave us, we went back to the drawing board and we changed the design to fully indoors to kind of be able to fully capture and.
Which has been going back and forth, and we're so thrilled that it finally landed it fully indoors.
Yeah.
Can you estimate the total amount that's gonna be spent on the
Cost.
whole project? I know what Mayor de Blasio set aside for it, and I know that's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's all public knowledge, right? This is the capital budget. I
Yeah.
think, right now we set aside about $300 million or so for that
A
project.
little over 300, yeah.
Right, a little over 300.
Wow.
Yeah, 312 to be exact.
Okay.
Yeah, 312.
In that pie.
Did we, for this project, was an additional CPOR required, and if so, can we get a copy of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and yes.
Yes, and
Thank
yes.
you very much.
Yes.
That's
It
why
was-
I like when the answers.
Yes,
Okay.
not
I'll give
only
it to
that,
you.
but also we had to deal with, the Native American heritage groups as well. We informed them of what's going on. And we're going to be performing a survey and we invited them as well to come and be part of the survey. So, all the right steps that need to be taken here were definitely completed.
And when that was
Yeah,
done
'cause
already?
I'm
Yep.
a
Was that was done?
Yes.
local historian and I did an article about Rodman's Neck, and there were very much shell middens found there in burial mounds on Rodman's Neck, not necessarily where the firing range is.
Right. And we said the same thing. We kind of identified the areas that we thought were from previous history, but we also said, we're going to do a due diligence. The survey's happening this first week of December.
Yeah.
And we reached out to all the major tribes, and a couple responded back, and we gave them the.
What about environmentalists, because they're holding up the reconstruction of the Shore Road Bridge, because the temporary bridge is gonna take up so much
Right.
park space,
Mhm.
and I know that it's on hold again for another year or 3 years later than it was originally, because people had to come in and look at everything from an archaeological point of view as well as from an actualist point of view.
Yeah, so
is that an issue that you have to deal with?
we had a number of meetings with DC as well, site meetings actually, and
Good.
part of it was the type of plantings that we had to maintain, the shoreline itself. Some shoreline needed to be repaired. We're also we applied for a huge grant to upgrade the other parts of the shoreline that this project can't cover, and hopefully we get that funding. There's going to be a huge project with the Parks Department. There's a lot of areas, around Rodman's Neck where the shoreline from sandy and just other actions have been completely deteriorated. So we're looking to make major repairs. This project is going to parts of the road that's collapsing now. We're going to fix, but we also submitted for a grant to help other parts of the shoreline with the help of the Parks Department.
That's great.
Is there any stuff there that's of any historic interest that you know of from the old days, from 1918 when there was the naval training station there?
We're going to find out. We're doing a survey, and obviously part of the excavation will be major excavation happening on site.
Right.
As
I run the historical society here, and so real interested in that.
no, of course. We understand this was kind of a man-made, island for the most part. The Army was there back in 1940, whatever it used to be, right?
Well, they were originally in 1908 it was designed, and then they
Right.
actually did it in 1918, and
Gotcha.
then in 1960 is when it was done.
Well, that's right. So, we have a team, the CM team is bringing a team of environmentalists who are going to oversee that part of the job.
Good.
They're going to make sure that one, we're doing the construction for the design, where we're doing all the proper maintenance that has to be complete, in compliance with DEC and DEP, and obviously anything that gets excavated, So that first week as well, December, that survey that's happening is going to be a team that's going out there to do a survey of exactly that purpose as well.
Doctor,
Go later.
Dr. Guidance.
He mentioned baffles a
Yeah.
number of times.
What kind of baffles and for what purpose?
Yeah, so the original design included an open baffle system, where basically, if you could make it almost, it looks like, horizontal.
Let me just, they're not doing baffling
No.
anymore. They're not doing any baffling.
Right.
They were talking about doing baffling at one point
Right.
when it was gonna be an open space. But now that it's fully enclosed, they don't need any baffling.
Well, was it for acoustic purposes? or
Yes.
Yes.
Solely?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and also, any kind of bullets going over, it doesn't happen often, but, if something goes over, they're meant to block, the bullets from projecting over to a certain area.
You mentioned earlier about drainage, and I went back and listened to the last meeting we did about 2 years ago, and we were talking about a pre-bid walkthrough to deal with drainage on site. And I'm just wondering, since you were talking about rebuilding some of the roadways in and out of there, is there something like could you walk through what exact drainage is going to be installed there?
Yes.
And how that's going to deal with not just the flooding, but some of the environmental concerns that people have already brought up?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part of it is actually the sanitary system that's going to, because right now we have our septic tanks, and in a high water table, Kevin can tell you from his experience, it's very difficult to maintain septic tanks in high water tables. So that's going to be a huge plus for us. So with the drainage system, we're introducing a stormwater system that's going to capture a lot of the stormwater on site and actually siphon it through what we call catch basins, permanent catch basins, along with the bomb spot project. So we're tying the two together, making sure that we're treating the water first before it goes out anywhere, and then right before the exit point, we have, I forgot the name of the actual equipment that we're using there. It's another cleaning process to make sure it captures any lead or whatever the case may be before it actually goes into the water.
And that's going to be for the whole grounds of the
So
facility?
entire grounds, exactly. And there's obviously a couple exit points that we have, and there's along these exit points the proper drainage and the slopes, and there's going to be treatment systems in place.
In addition, can we make them all permeable roadways?
The amount of money for that material is prohibitive, I think, at this point. We're not.
We're trying throughout the community board
Right.
to make all reconstruction projects permeable. We have so much flooding everywhere.
Right.
You know what goes on Shore Road already.
Absolutely, yeah.
If we have permeable roads, it'll
Right.
make it
Well, here's the
a
thing.
big difference in the flooding.
Here's the thing. We are still in the planning stage and surveying with Con Ed.
Okay.
Right? So between that and the new sanitary line,
Mhm.
all right, and tying into DEP's existing water,
Right?
that roadway that runs from the Rotary out to Rodman's Neck, all right, is, for lack of a better term, up in the air as far as the recrowning of it to help with water drainage and that kind of thing. So I think the possibility or the timing of floating that idea of permeable paving, because DDC does it right now, but it is expensive, it is.
So we'd like to float
Yeah.
that idea at least.
Float,
pun
nothing
intended.
else.
No pun
I
intended.
get it.
This guy's
And again, if it's something that requires additional funding, we're more than happy to bring it
Oh,
up.
absolutely,
to the
absolutely,
powers that be.
yeah,
And building
So
on what
please
Bob
keep
said.
that in mind.
absolutely.
I mean, in terms of drainage, that's something the rest of the city can hook up to, because as you pointed out, the rest of the park, and as Bob said, we've got serious drainage issues, right, near Turtle Cove and other areas of the park, and we have emergency access issues as a community at large. So that's something we could build, could that be something that's more collaborative with the other agencies?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Once, this is a major undertaking, this would be the time to do
And we've
it.
been talking to everybody who's doing
Do it.
construction, and
Absolutely.
asking them to do exactly
Absolutely.
that.
I mean, the areas that we're affecting, the majority of it is going to be
Right.
on-site itself, so it's not gonna affect any parts of the community.
No, some of these are bad
Well,
as
we're looking
is,
for
that's
some
what I'm saying.
positive aspects, you know?
Yeah, some of these are bad as is, so we're just saying.
Which
that-
ones?
I mean, there are areas of the park that flood the roadways into Rodman's Neck.
Right,
So if you're building all this sewer infrastructure, I'm wondering if
Yes.
this provides an opportunity to hook up to that,
Absolutely.
for lack of a better terminology.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've lived here about 25 years now. And
New kid on the
very
block.
aware- What?
No, go ahead.
That was me, joking. I said, new kid on the block.
Probably true. I've been aware during that period of time that Rodman's Neck creates a certain amount of noise. And that is the greatest concern most of the populace hear. Most of the people have no other idea about the facilities there. I myself have never been there. I don't know what your physical facilities are. But I do know that noise abatement, when the police are using the range, is a prime concern to this community. And I'd like to spend some time on that for a while.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's the reason we're out here.
Yeah.
That's what's the driving force behind the project.
Since
Yeah.
1989.
Absolutely.
Struggling since
Thank you.
1989.
That's it. That's
Within a
it.
year, we
That's
did
it.
get said in
That's it.
1990.
No, it is the intention of this project to, as close to 100% abate
Yeah.
and to remediate, and every other term that the industry likes to
Well,
use,
the other,
eliminate the noise out there. That's
the
what we're
other
here to do.
engineering considerations that you've been discussing, drainage
Right.
and so on.
Right.
Sewage.
Yeah, so we
Those are
if
all
you see
standard things to deal with,
Yes,
and it
yeah.
doesn't take much imagination.
right.
No, that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring it indoors. The amount of, the bulk of the value of that one building, the bulk of the value is in the mechanical systems that are not only abating the sound, but also eliminating the waste and the air. The machines that it takes to evacuate a building like that with so many guns going off is tremendous. It really is. So this thing has been engineered for everyone to be indoors.
Speaking of high-tech engineering,
Yeah.
how do the loudspeaker system? What 21st century advancements do you
You
have?
don't like
for that?
the you don't like the squat boxes over there now?
The
I
neighbors,
think
the
they're
neighbors
kind
do
of-
not love them.
It reminds me of Charlie Brown on the phone,
Yes, indeed.
right? Anyway,
So we did, that was a big part of the concern, and we listened to the community. So we actually, part of the design and part of the team that's designing this project, we had a wayfinding team of basically how to better communicate messages across the site. So they came up with very clever ideas of basically certain boards in certain areas, right? And we were able to kind of, okay, hey, these guys come in this room, we're gonna have boards here, and then tell them exactly where they're going to shoot, things of that nature. Now, we're not gonna completely eliminate it, because this is a safety hazard that we have to maintain, because if there's something that needs to happen, or the site needs to be notified, because it's not just a shooting range, we also have the bomb squad building, we also have the detective squad building as well, right? We need to let people know what's happening. But it'll be reduced dramatically because of some of the technology they're going to be using, which is some of these electronic boards that go to notify officers of where they need to be.
That's great.
Right? But it won't be completely eliminated.
But it'll be an improvement of it.
Yes.
What
Oh,
about
yeah.
the detonations that happen now when there are huge flames flaming up and huge noises that freak out the dogs that live on the
Right.
road?
My understanding is with the bomb squad, when they're doing training and things of that nature, prior to them doing any detonation, there is some kind of system that gets sent out notifying the residents of what's happening. Right. I don't know if there's ever a way to eliminate that, because the bomb squad has to maintain their training site there, but it's rare events, much rarer than,
Very rare,
than the shooting that actually does happen. So
So you'll let people who have dogs know. So
If
they
you're not
know.
on the notification system, John can tell you how to get on it.
right, they definitely give a heads up, unless it's an emergency, obviously. But if it's a training procedure, they give definitely a heads up before they do anything.
I thought it was explosives elimination.
Yeah, they came to.
It's not training. A lot of the things they do is actually have a big wad of explosives that you detonate.
Yeah, fireworks. Yeah, things of that nature. A lot of it.
That's a
But
huge
a lot of them are bombs,
So
so they
it's-
use for training.
The next time we do this, maybe it'd be good to
That's
have
training?
someone from the bomb squad here so they could like listen to folks and whatever
Yeah, yeah.
steps could be taken. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot of great stuff on the shooting range, but yeah, you're building a 21st century shooting range next to a 20th century bomb detonation site.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
What
they're
is your
getting a new bomb
interval
squad.
between these meetings? What's your interval usually?
I mean, we did last meeting we had was 2
I
years
will-
ago,
I
so
will-
we
We try to do every 6 months as
Yeah.
progress is occurring.
Yeah.
So if you're breaking ground in the spring,
Right.
could incorporate
then just after that, we'd like to maybe
Of
get
course,
together again.
I think, exactly, and we'll have a much more comprehensive phasing.
Yeah.
We will have identified, and certainly,
I
these
will
concerns
yeah,
with the bomb squad,
Sure.
we could certainly bring someone from the squad out here.
Yeah.
CO, I'm sure would be more than happy to come, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Which construction management firm was appointed and what's their background?
The Lero Group, they're in Syosset. They've got 30 years plus with the city of New York.
How do you spell that?
Liro. Lero Group, the Lero Group. They're from Syosset.
Any
New
other
York.
big projects that they've done?
They have done, well, they just finished the 40th precinct.
Okay.
And
FDNY, right?
FDNY, they've done multiple station houses for FDNY over the years.
They recently did a project that's very similar to what we're doing now in Rodman's Neck, down at, was it Randall's? Where's FDNY?
Yeah, well,
They
they
had their,
Yes, in Reynolds Island. They
Right.
did the training academy out of Reynolds Island.
which is
Okay.
very
Right.
similar features to what we have there now, limited access, firing range, environmental hazards.
I also did the 121st precinct
Right.
on Richmond Avenue out in Staten Island, out in Graniteville. Quite a facility out there.
How many of these facilities are there? I thought this was the only one.
Oh, shooting range?
Different kinds
Yeah,
of
these,
facilities.
yeah, I'm talking about other, these are other police precincts that they've done,
Right.
built for us.
Firehouses.
FDNY has something
The Randall's
similar.
Island one, is it another NYPD?
No,
that's
it's FDNY.
FDNY. That's FDNY Training Academy.
That's the
Yeah.
fire
Yeah,
department.
fire department, yeah.
Very similar features.
My son-in-law just trained 2 years ago. 3 years ago?
There you go.
Right.
I want to come back to acoustics because that's the one that's still primary in everybody's mind here. Doesn't bother me, bothers everybody else. I mean, everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Probably before you were born, I studied for 5 years at MIT
Good school,
Huh.
yeah.
Good school.
as an architect, and some of my studies were with a firm whose professors were both Baranek and Newman for his acoustics
Right.
consultants.
Yes.
Probably the primary premier acoustic consulting firm at that time. Acoustics, the study of it brings with it a lot of problems that can't readily be solved.
Right.
Now, as an architect, I've completed over 300 projects all over the country.
Right.
Most of them tourist projects. But I've always considered acoustics as one of the contributory factors, but along with lighting,
Of course.
egress,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
a whole laundry list of things that are concerned with your design.
So this was such a critical part of this project. Yeah, actually, what we did was, at the beginning design stages, there was a convention in Jacksonville, Florida, that all it was indoor ranges. And we went there as a department, we took our design team out there, and we were there for 2 days, gathering as much information as we can, and it was mainly about acoustics. And we took some of the best systems that are there on the market now, we came back here, and that design engineer was able to kind of say, okay, here's what we feel is the best system. They actually came, part of the study that they did was actually test the noise at City Island as we were shooting to kind of identify exactly what.
Barber's house, right?
Right, right,
I know.
right. What did I saw? You got Phil Heller, if you remember at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So we definitely put a lot of time and effort into
Yeah.
acoustics because a big part of what we're doing is to make sure that we eliminate the noise. So we want to make sure we get that right. So we spent a lot of time on the acoustics.
And the bomb squad came to my house as well and tested exactly how loud before the glass broke.
Right. So yeah.
I'd like to suggest something to you if it hasn't been thought of before. One of the possible solutions when other things seem to fail and become difficult
Right.
is to take the sound that's generated anyway, shooting, bomb, and so on. And instead of trying to absorb it or eliminate it, take that sound and deflect it to a point where it will not affect anybody.
At the barber's house.
Barber's
I think we can supply you with, all right, as long as, I would defer to the NYPD on anything that could be, security, averse for them to release. I think the study that was done will demonstrate to you that all of these different were taken into account. They really were. So, we can provide that. Just have to get the right permission to release.
Yeah, the acoustic study.
The acoustic, I don't think I think it's something we can let you see, all right, of everything that was
I'd
done.
like to know whether you've ever had any discussion about using parabolic concrete reflectors. Take the sound that's generated out and take that sound and deflect it up into the sky.
Right. I'm going to assume, all right, because I was in a couple of the meetings, that both the method and the materials required to affect those methods compared to the cost and the cost benefit of a mix and match of that was done. Because the efficiency of the facility as well as the cost of it was critical to getting this project moving. So we'll get you that. If you have any questions once you've seen it, certainly it's a certain, to quote the French, a fait accompli at this point.
Well,
And
I bring
hate
it up
to quote
because nobody seems to know about it.
And
Right.
I'm not gonna pretend this is the most important issue in the world, but someone did ask me, so I wanna bring it here. I assume there's a wildlife control plan for all the construction, because we have the whole deer population out here, and we don't want them running into the street and hitting someone's car.
Are you referring to the construction workers?
Look to the.
Very nice, very nice. Yes, we'll be maintaining them too.
Good.
Yes.
I'm glad you did
Yes.
it.
No, yes, absolutely.
We don't want Bambi or Bambi's.
No,
running
not
into
at
somebody's
all.
car,
No, we will
you know.
not be, no,
Okay.
no. We
Just
will
wanna
not
make
be
sure.
on the 6 o'clock
Thank you.
news about
It's
that.
definitely when the street also be excavated there, the main road, I'm sure there's gonna be precautions.
Right,
Got it.
absolutely, absolutely. All right?
Anyone else have any questions?
Any other questions?
As I said, things are moving. Things are moving. We'll have a lot more definitive, week by week, month by month plan layout for you, in the spring. And we'll be more than happy to schedule another meeting. We'll bring the appropriate people. We'll bring a present, we'll forward a presentation to you
Great.
by that point, because by then we will have, the logistics worked out with the CM. The CM is a few weeks from being brought on board. Money is right now at the budget office with legal counsel, just being reviewed. We expect to have it released in the next week or two. So that's gonna
Can you,
allow us to start the contract with
That's great.
the CM, so.
okay, will you just keep us posted?
Absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
January plan also gets released, and you guys will be able to see all the numbers as well.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
so that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.